I can put my shades on. You know why? Because my eyes are really starting to like tear up. I don't know if it's from the. I had an eye operation 2 days ago, and so I'm wearing my shades because my eyes are bothering me. I've been outside. Yesterday, I did not go outside at all because there's so much pollen and everything. Here in the Northeast, I'm in Connecticut, and things are still blooming and so much pollen from all the trees and everything. And so I stayed inside yesterday, and then today, I'm probably going to go over to the state park that I do a lot of content. And I like to do content on our beautiful waterfront state park. So you've got three beautiful state parks in Connecticut along our coastline, which is the southern border of Connecticut. We have the first one if you're driving into the state on 95. The first one is in Westport, Connecticut. It's exit, I think it's 18. Exit 18, yes, is for Sherwood Island. It's called Sherwood Island. It is in Westport, Connecticut. It's exit number 18. Come off the exit, make a right if you're northbound. If you're southbound, you come off the exit, make a left, and you go down to Sherwood Island State Park. And that's the first one. That one gets really crowded because that's in Fairfield County. It's closest to New York City. It's in the most densely populated part of the state. That's the part of the state that's like New York City. It's within like an hour commute of New York City. It's where Martha Stewart lived in Westport, Paul Newman lived in Westport, lots of different people. Anyway, the next one up, if you drive just up 95, and 95 goes through the whole length of the coastline of Connecticut, the southern border of Connecticut, 95 north. Let's say you're going to Maine or wherever, Massachusetts, whatever. The next one is after New Haven, so like exit 45 or something is New Haven. You go over the bridge there. It's called the Pearl Harbor Memorial Bridge. At night, it's all lit up cool, different colors. Anyway, keep going up to exit 62 is for Hammonasset State Beach Park. That's the second one as you drive up north on 95 towards Massachusetts, towards Rhode Island, towards whatever. The next one is called Rocky Neck, and that's like, I think it's exit 72 is Rocky Neck. And there's a famous picture of a train that got lifted right off the train tracks by the surge, the tidal surge of the 1938 hurricane that came in. It was the last what they call unnamed hurricane because they weren't tracking them, and they had no idea when they were coming. They didn't name them. It wasn't a big deal. They didn't watch out, and it wiped out. Like it went right up into it's called Narragansett Bay into Providence, and wiped out the city. It was like 12 feet of water in downtown Providence, 1938. Really, salt water really like destroyed the downtown. But that was the last what they call unnamed hurricane, 1938. So that there's a picture where it actually lifted an entire train. Like it looks like a kid knocked it over. It's just the whole train. The train track is here, and it's just like laying on its side. That's because the water surged over the tracks and just lifted the train right off. Anyway, and Katharine Hepburn's famous. She was in the movie The Aviator, famous movie The Aviator, that was depicting Katharine Hepburn's relationship with this guy. He was like Elon Musk before Elon Musk. He was Howard Hughes, and he made a fortune in all kinds of businesses. But then he had his satellite company, like early satellite company, Hughes Satellite. Anyway, the guy had all these government contracts and was a little crazy and was building planes that they didn't need. And he dated all the stars when he was like in his 30s in Hollywood, and then he became an eccentric, and he was reclusive, and he ended up like, I don't know, he lived in this top floor of a casino in Las Vegas, and then he died. Anyway, he was a recluse, Howard Hughes. But the movie The Aviator, he was dating Katharine Hepburn. He was dating her. So she brought him to her family's home, which was on the water in this beautiful place called Old Saybrook, Connecticut, and it's called Fenwick, where she brought him. And it's a little golf course, only 9-hole little golf course there. And she brought him there. And I just saw a thing of that golf course reviewed. I didn't think the public could play there, but I guess you can. If you have enough money to spend, you can play at Fenwick. I thought you had to own property in Old Saybrook to get into the lottery to get a pass. But I guess public can also play in there. There's no golf carts. You get a wheel around. It's 9 holes. You get a wheel. It's beautiful. It's on the water. It's gorgeous. Anyway, it was designed by one of the more famous golf course builders. There's also 2 incredible golf courses in the Bronx, New York. One is in Van Cortlandt Park, and one is it's a place no one really knows about, in the northeastern corner of the Bronx. And it's past Orchard Beach, and it's on the Shore Road there, and it's called Split Rock. And my daughter is, I think, officially a resident of New York City now. I've got to check in with her on that, because I would love to play at Split Rock sometime. Although I really don't golf, but just to go have fun. You can also ride horses there. No one knows this, but there's a part of the Bronx where you can actually, there's stables, and you can ride horses in these trails and these woods that are all around on the saltwater marsh. And it's all by Orchard Beach. It's called Orchard Beach in City Island. They use City Island a lot in movies and these shows like the FBI and Law and Order and stuff. Shows that are shot in the New York area, they use the waterfront of City Island and, old marinas and stuff around there, and a lot for these movies and these shows. And hi, how's it going? Hey, wow. You're my first person 6 minutes in, and I was just on before, and I had a pretty good group. But what I'm doing is, my name is Damon. I'm here. I'm talking about digital marketing. I'm talking about how you can have build up your own online business. You can run it from just your phone. Once you get everything going, once you get going, it doesn't really require much work. You have to do 2 hours a day. That's all you got to do. And if you do that consistently, you will make money. You will make money. You have to be consistent. You cannot get bummed out. If it takes you 3 months and you haven't made any money, you keep going until you make money. You keep doing the trainings. There's a 7-day to profitability training. There's a 30 days to 10K training. If you do those 2 trainings, like literally all the time, if you have to, you just keep doing those. And that's how you make money. You have to be consistent. You have to be committed, coachable, and consistent, the 3 C's. Now, I didn't know any of this stuff. I knew none of this stuff. Okay, that's a beautiful Japanese maple right there behind me. But I knew none of this stuff, okay? I was 60 years old. I didn't know anything about social media, literally nothing. When my kids were little, like 20 years ago, yeah, I mean, I did like a video of like sledding down a snowy hill or something, wow. Put it on social media with, so my parents could see it and stuff like that. I mean, that was all I did in social media. Then my kids were like a little bit older. I didn't, after they were like 6, 7 years old, I didn't post anything anymore on social media. So I knew nothing about social media at all, like literally nothing. And I saw this one, I was, doom scrolling, whatever, on stuff, just looking at stuff. And I heard a mom saying she was working 2 hours a day and she was making $300 in her sleep. And I was like, what is that? How are you making $300 in your sleep? I was 60 years old, right? My career was pretty much over in my mid-50s because corporate America doesn't want you in your mid-50s anymore. They toss you aside. And then once you lose you can't, after a while, you can get jobs again for a while. And it's a definite pattern. You can see it on LinkedIn. Older guys, what happens is once you get into your 50s, you're going to lose that good corporate job that you had because you're too old. They don't want the medical liability for you, okay? That's the truth. And then they start to get rid of you, okay? And then when you're in your 50s, you got to get a plan B. I mean, I knew some guys that had plan B, but I couldn't understand why they were doing something else, why they had a plan to leave their really high-paying job in selling media, selling ads in like NBC Regional Sports Network. Was a true story of a guy that I know. And when he turned 50 years old, all I know is I was about 29 or 20 or 30, I forget how old I was, but he turned 50 years old and he told me, he's like, I'm going to be leaving this job in like 6 months. I have a teaching job lined up at this private school in Stamford, Connecticut. And I was just like, why would you leave this job? He's making probably about at least $250K, maybe more than that, in the late 90s. He was making at least that, about $250K, selling sports advertising for a regional sports network for NBC Sports. Why would he leave that? It was called Prime Sports. Why would he leave that to go make about 25,000, like a tenth of what he was making in teaching? I just didn't understand it until, hey, what's going on? Until I didn't understand it until I got into my 50s, and then I saw what happens. It doesn't matter how good of a producer you are. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. All that matters is you hit to be, and every company's has got a certain age. It might be 52, it might be 53, it might be 50, 55, it might be 57. They all have a certain age in the company. They don't tell you what it is, because then they could get sued, right? They don't tell you that. They don't say, oh, you're getting fired because you're 55 years old, and we have it in our HR. It's not written down anywhere, but the CEO wants everybody who's over 55 gone. So what they do is they put you on a list. You get onto a list when you're over a certain age, and every company's different. But in the United States, once you get into your 50s, every company has a list. And they put you on the list, and then the next time they need to lay people off for the end of the year to help make the numbers or whatever it is, they're doing another report to the investors, whatever the reason might be. Whenever they need to do another layoff, you're going to be in the people that are laid off. You'll be there along with the people that are underperforming, whatever. But they're laying you off because of your age, strictly because of your age. And when that happens, it's always a surprise to people. But when that happens, you got to have a plan B standing by. You got to be ready for that. You got to be realistic, okay? Ageism is rampant in the American corporate world. Ageism. And everybody denies it. Everybody says, oh, that's not happening. But ageism is just rampant in corporate America. Okay? In corporate America, there is ageism, and there's all kinds of different ways that they will, reasons. You know, everybody has what it's called at-will employment, which means that you can be fired at any time, let go, whatever you want to call it, pink slip, downsize, at any time for any reason. They don't even have to have a reason why. They can just give you, you know, and what happens a lot of times to people also is if they're leaving a job, if they've decided to leave a job and they try to do the right thing, right? And we've always heard when you're leaving a job, you got to give 2 weeks notice. You know what they do now? You give your 2 weeks notice, they immediately terminate you. As soon as you give the 2 weeks notice, you better be ready because they will immediately terminate you. So be careful when you do that. If you're going to give somebody, a company, a corporation, whatever, a job, 2 weeks notice, be ready that they're going to terminate you immediately. So make sure you have everything ready to go. Like you've already taken care of all the email you want to take care of. You already deleted I mean, whatever you want to do, whatever your preparations are to leave a company, make sure that you do all that before you tell them that before you give them the 2 weeks notice, because when you give them the 2 weeks notice, they're going to fire you immediately. That's their response to when you are doing the right thing, giving them 2 weeks notice. Their response is to immediately fire you. That happens now. I've heard it happens every time now. Anyway, so my name is Damon. I'm here. I'm the proud dad of 3 grown adults, and I got into my 50s and I found out, you know what? I couldn't get the really good jobs anymore, and then the jobs I could get kind of sucked, right? Like the jobs I could get in my 50s were not good jobs. They were like survival jobs, and then and those jobs all only lasted for like 8 months to a year, a little over 8 months to like 16 months, whatever, all those jobs. And that's what happens. That's what happens. Okay. And you see a pattern, and you note, and once you get older and you go through that, and you've seen some people older than you go through it, and then you go through it, and you see that there's a pattern there. There's a pattern, and you can recognize the pattern. Okay. And it happens to everybody once you get into your 50s. If you're in sales, okay, it happens every kind of industry, okay? But you got to be ready for that. You got to have a plan B. You know, if you're out there and you're working and you think, oh, you think, oh, I'm immune to getting laid off. I'm immune to I'm the #1 producer. I'm immune to getting laid off. They're going to keep me forever. I'm the top guy. I play golf with the CEO every weekend at his club. I do, I do these things. I'm untouchable. No, you're not. You're going to get fired. It's just a matter of time. Everybody gets fired. It's just a matter of time. I don't care who you are in your company. I don't care that you won whatever award. Oh, actually, a lot of times when you win an award, it's like right before you get fired. I know it sounds crazy, but it's like if you do too well and your middle managers look bad, you're going to get fired. Because the question from the top to the middle managers is, why is this person doing so well all of a sudden? Or why didn't the person before this person do as well as they're doing? When someone does really well all of a sudden in a company, like in a sales structure, does really well, that just creates problems for the manager, because and the bosses are asking, what happened? Why did this person do so well when everybody else didn't do so well? That was in that job. Why did this person all of a sudden is hitting out of the park? What happened? So I'll just tell you a quick story of one story I know. I know a guy who was really young go-getter, and he came into this company, and there's just old people there, and he was really hungry, and he needed to make money, and he realized that the job that he got, the guy that was covering that territory in the Northwest United States, had been trying to cover it just from the phone in Connecticut, just calling on the phone, never physically went out there, never physically went out to Idaho, Seattle, or Washington State, or Oregon, or Montana, or Wyoming. Never went out there, never physically got on a plane and went out there, drove around and met people in the most important cities and established a network of contacts on the ground. Never actually did that. And because of that old guy that was trying to do it on the phone, he never made much money. But when the new young guy went out there and started going out, renting a car and driving all over and going on like week-long trips, 10-day-long trips, and meeting with people, because he had 3 kids to feed, he was hungry. And he started killing it in that territory, like killing it. He got to know guys that had mines and stuff. He got to know guys locally because he was going out with them. He was taking them out to, eat, have meals, and was getting to know people. That's what you do. You get to know people. He was doing well. He did great. He killed it like 3 years in a row in this territory. He was making tons of money. And then his boss, but what happened was his bosses all looked bad because they hadn't been making the money for years. Now, they should have been out there for years making that money, right? But they weren't. And so this guy, even though he was doing great and he was making great money for the company, what happened was he made his bosses look bad. And then his bosses didn't like that. So then he lost that territory, because what they did was, instead of having one guy call on 5 states, they took the 5 states and divided it into 12 territories, because he showed that there was millions and millions and millions of dollars there that they could get that they weren't getting at all. And so that's what happens, and it's so terrible, but this is what happens. And this is what happens when you do not own your own company. And when you do not have your own company, you cannot determine your future. When you have your own company, where you can make unlimited income, like a digitally based business, like a business that's based online, where you're selling digital products these are big high ticket items, 900, 600, 300 at a time, and even 100 at a time. Around the world, people start with our 100 program because there's no payment plans in other parts of the world. In the United States, there's payment plans. If you're in the United States and you want to do this, there's payment plans. You can get a payment plan on the 900. You can do it on any of mine. If you go to the bottom, like if you don't want to do PayPal, if you scroll to the bottom, there's payment plans in mine. But you got to scroll down to the bottom of the purchase. The beginning part, you go through PayPal, and there's no payment plan through there. But if you go down to the bottom part, you see all the colors at the bottom of like the page. That's where the payment plans are. Okay. So you got to kind of look for these things. You got to look. I had to look for when I first heard about it, and I saw the videos, and I started going, and I signed up. It was like 900. That was the only one I saw because they had just started the 900 level program. But I didn't want to spend 900. I didn't know I didn't know what it was. I didn't even go to a webinar. As soon as I saw this thing and I heard about it, And I heard the mom saying she was making 300, 600, 900 at a time, working 2 hours a day at her own pace. Nobody, you have your own boss, nobody over you. It's your business. That's why it's not a pyramid scheme. It's not an MLM, because it's your business. You keep all the money that you generate. Nobody else shares in any of the money that you generate. Hey, what's going on? What does it say? Phony Wi-Fi name you've seen. I don't, why do I want to do questions and answers? I don't. I'm doing my own thing. I don't need the Q&A. I don't need that. It always pops up. I never use it. But I'm just trying to explain that when you have your own, especially online business, you're free to go anywhere. You can do it from anywhere. I mean, you don't even need Wi-Fi anymore. In the beginning, we had to have Wi-Fi. But now with the 5G, that's why I'm going to go to the state park later. I'm going to be lying out in the sun. I'm going to go live, like from the beach. Because I can. Because I can. I've been told that the connection sometimes is a little bit warbly, like not that great. I'm trying to think where their main... I mean, I was doing the 5G, and it was definitely not that great of a connection. But it was cool that I could be doing it at all from the beach. So I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to go on at 11. I'm going to go on at 12. And maybe at 1 from the beach. But the battery runs down pretty quick. Like, that's one thing I've noticed when I go live, is that my battery just doesn't last for more than about an hour of going live. That means I got to bring my special recharging battery with me when I go down to the beach. Definitely going to bring that. Bring my tripod. I'm going to bring a nice chair. I don't know what chair I could bring. Yeah, I got it. Well, there's some benches down there too. I might just lie down and try to get, because I need to get some sun badly. Wow, I honestly have never had this low a number of people. I don't know, like, if I did something wrong, if I made someone angry. I don't know if I said something wrong or whatever, but I'm gonna go now. Okay, bye.